So I was just laying here thinking about it, and it occurred to me that my aunt got the restraining order just so that my mom didn't know about the hearing. I'm so pissed right now, I want to scream and smash everything in my aunt's house. I hate her so much. Not only was it so I didn't know about the hearing, but I'm convinced that April was expecting and hoping for my son to be put in juvie that day. I'm certain of this, and by getting the restraining order and then taking it to the juvenile court administrator, which she did the very next day, I was prevented from speaking to anyone there about my son. They would not give me any information because of it. So she had canceled the first ARY hearing and rescheduled it for December 11th, only informing my son the night prior. And on December 10th, the day before the hearing, she filed a motion for an order of protection for her and my children against me, claiming that I was harassing her, and somehow the judge granted it and scheduled a hearing for the 20th. I learned about the order, as well as about 100 other people, not because I was ever served, but because April posted the restraining order along with derogatory and accusatory comments, and also posted my son's artwork and comments meant to embarrass and shame him all over my Facebook page, and I would realize a week later that she had posted the same on my GoFundMe campaign. She alleged that I had sent incessant text messages and phone calls, and as things tend to go with her, the opposite of that is true, and I have all the proof necessary. However, the judge would not look at it, nor would he give me the extension that I requested so that I had enough time to properly respond. At the time that I was made aware of the order and the hearing, I was out of town working an absolutely filthy, miserable job because it was the only work I could get. A job in which all my co-workers were illegal immigrants. That kind of back-breaking job. I was supposed to be there for another week when I found out about the order and upcoming hearing. If I wanted to get paid, I had to finish the job. But because I couldn't respond without a computer and a printer and needed other pieces of information that were only at home, there was no way for me to respond in time. So I called the courthouse and said that I was aware of the hearing but had not been actually served, and because she only posted the order to my Facebook page, there was no explanation as to why it was granted. So I didn't even know on what grounds or what allegations I needed to respond to. I asked what I needed to do to get a continuance, and I was told by the clerk that I could not get a continuance and I had to appear. When I finally got back home, it was Sunday the 16th. I planned on getting my response done and in the mail by no later than Tuesday morning, but from the moment I got online until 10 p.m. Tuesday night, I was having to deal with a digital assault that April had launched on me, and unlike myself, she seemed to have nothing but time and was relentlessly posting picture after picture and comment after comment. By the time I blocked her on Facebook, she had posted the restraining order and the comments throughout my Facebook page countless times. It was not so easy to get rid of her from GoFundMe. And it's important to note that I had just been blessed by a woman living in Seattle that I had been talking to, and she had a lot of very wealthy connections, and she had just spent a great deal of time and effort reaching out to those people, directing them to my blog, my Facebook page, which I had created solely for the purpose of networking to help my kids, and more specifically to the GoFundMe campaign. I had hope on the horizon. I was really expecting to have enough money raised within the week to hire an attorney because of this woman's kind actions. But April had somehow figured out my password. Later, I realized that she'd gotten into a few of my accounts through the phones I had sent my kids because of shared Microsoft and iCloud accounts. At first, I just changed the settings on my GoFundMe account to no comments, even though I knew that drastically altered the likelihood of people donating. But it was all I knew I could do. But after each time that I deleted her pictures and comments, changed the setting to no comments, I'd go back and check, and they would all be right back on there, and the comments option turned back on. I was so stressed and consumed with trying to get her to stop posting these things that I knew there was no way I could get a response done by Tuesday morning. But that didn't stop me from trying. And this is my almost finished response that the judge never saw because he would not allow a continuance, stating that I had plenty of time. Before I tell you how the hearing went, I need to share a few stories. Stories that were included in my response because it was all very pertinent information that provided more than enough evidence that the petitioner in this request for protection is a manipulative, lying, pardon my French. So it had been 22 weeks that I was supposed to get 1 call a week with my kids, and I had only gotten 10. A sum total of 6 hours of time speaking to my kids who have lived with me their entire lives. 6 hours over 22 weeks. Also during this time, having absolutely no desire to exchange words with April, there had been only 40 text messages sent from my phone to hers. The most common reason was telling her that I was going to call or something brief and necessary. But the majority of those 40 texts came from one day in which April deliberately scared the out of me. For no reason whatsoever other than to satisfy her insatiable appetite for drama, chaos, power to inflict harm, and control. Sunday, November 11th. I had called to speak with my kids. After speaking to only my daughter for a few minutes and sensing that something was wrong right away, I asked her where her brother was. Usually they both get on the phone. Her reply confirmed the alarm I was feeling just from her voice, which sounded scared and worried, but she was trying to hide it, not being sure what her clinically insane aunt sitting there listening wanted her to say or didn't want her to say.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Fine.
Okay. Is Carpenter there?
No.
No. Where is he? Where is he?
I don't know.
You don't know? Really? You really don't know where he's at?
I know, but
Where is he?
he's at a concert.
Mm. Well, that's cool. What concert?
Ghost Man.
Oh. Wow. I continued speaking to my daughter for the half hour that April gives us, not wanting her to know that I was concerned about her brother. When our time was up, I told my daughter to let me talk to April. I'm letting you hear the following audio for a good reason. To get a good part at the play and have a good week at school. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I love you, Mom.
I love you.
I gotta go now, so
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
I love you.
Hey, let me talk to your April. April? So you just heard that I waited on the phone and she didn't say anything. If she was there on the other line and wanting to talk to me, she had plenty of time to say something. Call me weird, but I don't think anyone else would have stayed on the phone much longer than that, having no indication that anyone was on the other end, right? After I hung up, she sent me this text. Had she forgotten that quickly that I knew where he was? That Violet told me he was at the concert? Because she was right there. So I read this and I had to surmise that what she was saying was, because I hung up, having not gotten to speak with my son, that I must be planning on talking to him at another time, like when he was around again. But that didn't make sense because she knew that I knew he wasn't there, so why would I not hang up? And during the week? Was he going to be gone for several days? I just had no idea what she was saying. But meanwhile, there's this massive panic attack swelling up inside of me at the thought of my son being at a Ghost Main concert. And all I could think about at the moment was if he had a phone with him or any means to get a hold of someone. So I called her back and was hoping to not only get some clarity to the many questions I had, but also to hear that she had given him his phone to take. And that's when I asked the question, which you've already heard in part 3, but there's more to the audio, so here's that.
Okay, that's not what I asked you. Okay, that's not what I asked you, and I never said they could have phones. You went through a 10-year-old girl. Are you talking to Carpenter during the week, and do you know where he is?
When will he be back so I can call to talk to him?
Good question, Naylana. Good question.
So can you answer it, please?
No, I cannot answer it. Are you talking to him during the week?
What are you asking me? I don't get what you're asking me. When will he be back?
You talk to Carpenter during the week. I don't know when he'll be back, Naylana. Why don't you tell me?
I don't have
When was the last time you talked to Carpenter?
2 weeks ago on Sunday.
Is that the truth?
April, when will he be back so I can speak to him?
Naylana, I don't know where Carpenter is.
Violet said he's at a concert.
Yeah, good. There you go. That's where he's at.
You really don't know where he's at?
No, Naylana, I don't know where he's at.
When was the last time you heard from him? Is he at a concert or not?
I have no idea. I don't know. But I've done my duty, and I've filed another missing persons report. So that's why I wanted to know if you talked to him, but you hung up on me.
What was that?
You hung up on me.
I hung up on you?
You hung up on me. You hung up on me. You hung up on me. You hung up on me.
Okay, this is completely irrelevant and unimportant, except that every time I've had to communicate with her on the phone, she has said that every time. Hey, let me talk to you, April. April?
But you hung up on me.
I didn't hang up on you.
Missing persons report.
I didn't hang up on you. I waited.
That's all I can tell you. Don't know. Last time he talked to me was when he was mouthing off to me this morning. So
you
don't know. He's
okay.
Just gone. I was hoping that you did.
Nope.
I
How
don't
could
know
I
either.
know where he's at?
Well,
He's not allowed to have
he hasn't
a
been
phone?
anywhere that he's. That's right. That's right.
So when
He's
I was on the phone with the kids,
I never said they could have them.
but I asked them to ask you. I said, make sure.
They didn't. Maybe you should have talked to me without yelling at me. Because you didn't ask me. They didn't ask me. They just told you whatever they wanted to tell you.
You were right there. I asked and you were
Look at the phone.
listening.
I do not have time because I am taking care of your children, and it is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job.
Is
And
it? Is raising children a 24-hour job?
Yeah,
Is it? I didn't know that.
No, my kids, I can go to bed and sleep and not worry. But I laid down today for a nap.
Yeah, I've
Heard the leaves rustling.
never once ever have I ever not been able to go to sleep at night and worry about where my kids were. Not once.
That's right.
Ever.
Okay. Goodbye.
At this point, my head is spinning like a top, and that massive panic attack went from swelling up inside me to... My thoughts were, he ran away. Okay, why? She said he was mouthing off at her this morning. Is that why? What were they arguing about? Wait, this morning? He's been gone since this morning and I'm just now finding out? Wait a minute. I only found out because I called and I asked Violet where he was. Was she ever going to tell me? Violet said he was at a concert. Why? Why did Violet say that? Was he? Did he run away to go to the concert? Is that what the fight was about? And then I texted April back to find out more so I knew where to spend my time looking. Then, the kind of dread that a parent feels when they know they'll never see their child alive again suddenly washed over me like a tidal wave of blackness and void. If he ran away because he wanted to go to the concert and he was in another fight with her, there's a good chance that he's at a Ghost Maine concert and he's in a very angry state of mind, and I know he's been smoking marijuana to escape his problems, so there's no telling what he'd be willing to take if something was offered to him. Oh my dear Lord, this can't be happening, I thought. I immediately started searching for the venue. It was in Seattle. Seattle? At this point, a piercing headache came on like a knife through my head, and then I threw up. After collecting myself again, I realized he would have to hitchhike to get there. Wait, this was terrifying, but it could be better than actually being at the concert. But wait, he left this morning. Oh, why hadn't she told me sooner? Then I remembered her saying,
But I've done my duty.
What? Are you kidding me? I'm usually pretty good with words, describing my feelings and such, so I'm going to give it a go here. I'll start with,
Ah! For fuck's sake, I've had enough! God! Ah! 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 Ah!
I pulled myself together again, and I typed a message with a picture of my son in it, and started copy and pasting it to Messenger to everyone that was on the going to list for the concert, and multitasking like my son's life depended on it, because I thought it did. I downloaded a trucker app, and I was trying to figure out how to get a message on a CB radio, asking truckers to keep an eye out for a red-headed boy possibly hitchhiking to Seattle. I contacted a friend to ask for help sending the messages to the concert attendees, all the while praying my heart out. During all this time, I still have not received a reply from my text. So on the phone, I asked her twice if he was at the concert, and twice when the last time she heard from him was, and this text message here. And so far, this is all I've gotten. The first time...
When was the last time you heard from him? Is he at a concert or not?
And she said...
I have no idea. I don't know. But I've done my duty, and I filed another missing persons report.
And the second time...
Violet said he's at a concert.
Yeah, good. There you go. That's where he's at. Don't know. Last time he talked to me was when he was mouthing off to me this morning.
This is a summary of what I've gotten out of my sister so far, going on 2 hours.
I don't know when he'll be back, Nailana. Why don't you tell me? Nailana, I don't know where Carpenter is. Good question, Nailana. Good question.
So can you answer it, please?
No, I cannot answer it.
You really don't know where he's at?
No, Nailana, I don't know where he's at. Nailana, I don't know where Carpenter is. No, Nailana, I don't know where he's at. I have no idea. I don't know. Don't know. Last time he talked to me was when he was mouthing off to me this morning.
So you
don't know. He's
okay.
Just gone. No, I don't have any idea where he's at, Nailana. No, Nailana, I don't know where he's at.
So you
don't know. He's
okay.
Just gone. No, I don't have any idea where he's at, Nailana. I was hoping that you did.
When was the last time you heard from him? Is he at a concert or not?
I have no idea. I don't know. But I've done my duty and I've filed another missing persons report. But I've done my duty and I've filed another missing persons report. But I've done my duty and I've filed another file. But I've done my duty and I've filed another missing persons report.
Sorry, I had no choice but to play around with that clip. So, she has no idea where my son is, when he left, or how long he's been gone. I think that a group of sane and rational adults would all agree on that. Unless she is deliberately deceiving me, then she has no idea where he is, when he left, or how long he's been gone, right? Well, if that's the case, then I have discovered magic, my friends. Magic! Check it out. Here's my text. Obviously, she never bothered to answer. But how could she? She doesn't know. She doesn't even have an idea. She has no ideas. But then, just like cornflakes were invented by accident, so my magic was born. I sent this text to her on accident. But wait, something happened. Something has changed. Well, well, well. Suddenly, she knows what she knew not. And I came to understand that if you ever need to know things which are not known, just send a text to the wrong person. No, I'm kidding. The text is not magic, but the content within holds the key, my friends. The key to unlock secrets and mysteries and hidden knowledge. As soon as our subject realized that another person was involved, that another person was aware of the situation at hand, she immediately felt compelled to cooperate. Otherwise, she risked seeming like the cold, self-centered, uncaring, and irresponsible, malevolent demon that she is. And miraculously and spontaneously, she knew the exact things that I had asked 3 times each, and to which she had
no idea.
Okay, back to me in panic mode, trying to locate my child, whom I believe to be in grave danger. After finally getting some facts, I probed for more. However, my sister's more concerned with how I know that she wasn't going to tell me that my son was missing. I suppose if she needs that to be answered, then I will do that now, since at the time that she wanted to know, I was selfishly searching for my missing child. Let's see, I didn't find out that he was missing or had run away until I called for my once-a-week phone call, and even then, not until I mildly interrogated my daughter for an answer. Was there any other piece of reality that I used to draw that conclusion? He had already been missing for many hours, according to what she had insinuated the time frame to be anyways. Though when she finally answered a question, turned out to have only been 3 hours. And she had already reported him as a missing person. And what else? Oh yeah, I didn't find out until after I called for my once-a-week phone call and interrogated my daughter to get an answer. At the time of her question, I still had it stuck in my head that he had been gone since the morning. And that's why I replied, "You said he left this morning." Isn't it funny how she had the perfectly appropriate opportunity right there to correct my false assumption and inform me, seeing as how I am diligently trying to figure out the whereabouts of my child, who is most assuredly in an extremely dangerous situation at the moment. So this is all about to come to a close, but before I get to that, I just want to go over the facts here just to reiterate exactly what it was that my sister had done to me. From the time I was led to believe that my son had run away, probably to go to Seattle to a Ghost Main concert, until I found out the truth, was 3 hours. That might not seem like a lot of time, but having been led to believe certain details, or rather one gigantic farce, those 3 hours were an eternity for me, and probably knocked a good year off my life expectancy. It was 3 hours of non-stop fear in its purest form. The fear a parent has when their child is in imminent danger. Panic at full throttle, due to the very real possibility that my son could become a victim of any number of heinous crimes, and nothing was ruled out in my mind. And I mean nothing. Given the circumstances, that Ghost Main is an openly satanic group, and as smart as he is also very young and naive about the true level of brutality, debauchery, and extortion that humans, particularly the humans he would be encountering, are capable of. Nothing was ruled out in my worst case scenario imagination production line that was operating at full capacity in my head for 3 full hours. As I send one last text before her fantasy starts to dissipate, she texts me at the same time. So in the order they fell in here, it doesn't make sense. So I sent this before receiving, or at least before seeing this. They found him. Let me ask you a question, dear person listening to this. What image did that text bring to your mind? They found him. My automatic belief, my first and final belief around that statement, because there exists no alternative meaning even remotely possible, was that the police found him. Seeing as how she said she filed a missing persons report, and as far as I had been made aware, nobody else was bothering to look for him. So even though I was very relieved that he was alive and not at the concert or hitchhiking or still running away, he wasn't necessarily out of danger yet. I know what the Toppenish police are like and how they've treated my son thus far. So I'm still frantic. Even after receiving the text that they found him, I'm still pacing, biting my nails, and praying my heart out. I'm picturing my son being scared, sitting in the back of a squad car with handcuffs on, and assumedly being taken to juvie, possibly roughed up, most likely bullied, ridiculed, and treated like less than an unwanted mutt. So even though I'm relieved, I'm still experiencing a very high level of worry and anxiety as I wait to hear back from someone about where he was, why he left, what's happening to my son that I've raised for 16 years. During this waiting period, I am entirely doubtful that I'm even going to get to talk to him. I'm feeling certain that he's in a lot of trouble and going to be taken to juvenile detention. Because if there's any way possible for that outcome to happen, April has the will to manifest it and see it through. So I had not even an ounce of expectation that I would actually get to talk to my son after this whole disturbing event. So again, let me reiterate the they part of her statement. They has to be the police, right? And obviously, they found him. Is there any other possibility when saying that a person was found, other than they were somewhere other than the place they were supposed to be at the moment that they were found? If he had run away, he was not wanting to be found, which implies that he was captured against his will, right? Well, he wasn't found, and there was no they. My son walked in the door. He walked in the door. And her way of letting me know that I could stop the madness that I was reeling in was not to text and say, "He just walked in the door." No, that would make far too much sense for such an intelligent and capable and better parent and guardian for my children that I've raised for 16 years. Let's not forget,
I know I'm not your mother because I have a brain. I have a brain. I have a brain.
texting me that he was back at the house and safe, it simply lacked the critical drama that she was in the mood for that day. So as any sane and normal human being would choose, as words to communicate that he had just walked in the door, she went with, "They found him." A perfectly logical choice, right? I mean, if she wanted to ride out her fantasy just a few minutes longer that my son had run away and had to be tracked down by the police and then captured and brought against his will, then that is a perfectly logical way to inform me that I no longer need to be panicking, but yet at the same time leaving me in a state of panicking. As it turns out, my son left a big, obvious note on the fridge saying that he was going to the concert with his friend and their parents, and told my daughter. How silly is that? And to think I was so worked up over the high likelihood that I would never see my son alive again. How silly. Okay, so obviously he didn't have permission to go, and though I in no way approve of him going to a Ghost Main concert or listening to their music for that matter, and I'm not thrilled about his friend being a kid with parents who would take their kids to a Ghost Main concert. However, I went to similar concerts when I was even younger than him. But more importantly, the scenario of going in a car with a friend and their parents and people actually knowing where he is was mountains of difference from him running away to get to Seattle and go to the concert by himself. He ended up not going to the concert because they didn't have enough money for the tickets, thank God. But his friend's parents that had originally picked him up in their car when he left also drove him back to the house, and he walked in the front door. If this is not the most clear-cut, bona fiable case of intentional infliction of emotional distress, then the tort shouldn't even exist. I mean, this is what that law was written for, is it not? This seems like one for the books to me, a perfect case study for university. Everything she has done from day one of my son getting on the bus has been with intent to inflict emotional distress, with intent to hurt me, to get at me, to punish me for daring to call my mother a narcissist. But when she found out about the $1,300 a month child support, it was game on. There's no stopping her now. This is just an example, just one example of the kind of stress that she deliberately causes me on a weekly and sometimes daily and sometimes hourly basis. So now that I got that story out of the way, remember, I'm leading up to her allegations that I'm harassing her, and harassing her so much that she needs a restraining order, and my kids should have no contact with me at all, not even for a half-hour phone call once a week. Moving on to the next short story that pertains to the restraining order, but this one's much shorter and not nearly as dramatic. During all this time, since the very beginning when she first kidnapped my children, I have asked April if I sent pictures and videos to her phone if she would let my kids see them. She has completely ignored me every time. She has managed to never say no, but also never answer me. At one point, she told Violet that Violet and I could text back and forth once in a while, and we were both really excited about that, but she never actually allowed it. And so because I know that my kids are being brainwashed and told horrible lies about me, I have wanted to send pictures that remind them of reality and what our lives really were like. I finally had to use one of my phone call times to send them pictures. I didn't ask April or tell her I was going to do that. I just called them and then started sending the pictures once they had the phone in their hand. I know my kids really enjoyed it. They were laughing and my daughter was giggling the whole half hour. So keep that in mind, that at one point, I sent a string of pictures to her phone, probably about 30 or so text messages at one time. And the third and final story before getting back to the hearing for the restraining order. Shortly after the concert drama, my phone service was shut off because I could no longer afford to pay it. So when it was time for my phone call to them, I would drive to an acquaintance's home and borrow their phone. April knew this, and I would always text first to be sure that I didn't drive all the way over there only to not get to talk to them for some made-up reason. Because of the small window of time that I was allowed to call them, sometimes this was very difficult to pull off. But I had been managing up until the Sunday prior to the one that I'm talking about now. I could have talked to them at pretty much any other time of the week, but not during that small window that week. And then I had to do a video conference call, and it suddenly occurred to me, and I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner, but that I could use the same app to talk to my children with the Wi-Fi, and I didn't have to drive anywhere, which was even better. I was so excited. So I texted April and asked her if she would download the app so that I wouldn't have to drive and borrow a phone anymore and so I could see my kids. I asked on Saturday, and the next day being Sunday, my allotted call time, this particular Sunday, just like the previous one, I had a job lined up, and between that job and the time frame that my acquaintance was going to be around for me to use their phone and the time frame April has given me, it just wasn't going to be possible for me to call them. And I had already missed a week, so I really needed her to download the app or else I wasn't going to be able to talk to my kids. She didn't reply to my first text, so a few hours later, I sent the same text again. Sometimes people don't hear their messages, right? And then several hours after that, I tried once more because she still hadn't replied. This was over a 10-hour period. I was also very anxious to talk to my kids because months earlier my son had told me about the SAT test that he was studying really hard for, and I had it marked on my calendar when he told me about it, and it was that week. So I wanted to find out how he did and congratulate him for his efforts and, let him know I'm rooting for him and that I care. April finally replied, and when she did, she accused me of wanting to use the app to record my calls, which was a feature I hadn't even thought about. And she refused to download it and let them use it. I was really disappointed. But more than that, as I contemplated her reaction, I began to wonder, even if I had been planning on recording our conversation, why would that be a problem? The more I thought about it, the more it concerned me. And I wondered, was it recording them that she had a problem with, or just seeing them that she had a problem with? This caused me a great deal of worry, so I asked her in a text if there was a reason that she didn't want me to see my kids. She didn't answer, of course, and again, I waited a few hours and then sent the same text again. I was working, and when I finally finished the job, which was several hours later, I asked one more time. By the time I was heading home, I had developed such an uneasy feeling around her reaction that I decided to drive to a different acquaintance's house who was home, even though they live an hour away. But I really wanted to talk to my kids. So I called, and it was within that time frame that she's designated for me, but she didn't answer. I sent a text asking her why she wasn't answering. So if you remember my son's email, when he said that she had been acting weird all day and that he saw the phone ring but it was on silent. She looked at it and then just set it back down. That was, in fact, me. And that was the last time that I talked to my daughter since December 10th, up until 2 weeks ago. So back to the hearing. So I told you about the time that I wanted to send my kids pictures and how I had to use my phone call time to do that, and that I sent a string of about 30 texts because I knew that April had no way to prove her allegations that I was harassing her with text messages unless she used that time without actually showing the content of the text. And that's exactly what she did. So the only time that I ever sent a text that was out of the ordinary was this time when she wouldn't reply, and because I really needed her to download an app so I could talk to my kids. So I sent the same message 3 times over a 9-hour period. And then I did the same thing concerning why she would have a problem with me seeing my kids when I talked to them. Aside from that, there was nothing, never anything. Well, I recorded the hearing. So what you're about to hear, I hope, blows your mind as much as it blew my mind. Apparently, the First Amendment does not apply to me. Neither does any other form of due process or impartiality. Apparently, I was born into this world to be used, abused, and degraded. I've never had a reason to believe otherwise. Okay, on second thought, I'm not going to play the whole thing. It lasted about an hour, and I can't listen to it. Most of the hour is April just lying. I mean, I'm sure there's close to 500 lies in there. But there's information in there I can't make public, like addresses and things. And I can't I can't listen to it all again. I'm gonna just put a couple of the highlights. I just can't do it. I can't handle listening to it again. It makes me physically... It puts me in an unbearable state.
I had called the clerk asking for a continuance, so if this is going to trial right now, I need to know that because I was never served, and I had called to ask for a continuance, and she said since I was aware of it that I had to appear.
When did you find out about this case?
April Hull posted it all over social media. And I was out of town working. So I've only been back home for less than 2 days. I spent hours working on a rebuttal, my declaration with evidence against it. And I was going to spend $25 to overnight it, and they told me it still wouldn't get there in time. But I was never served.
Your Honor, she responded the same day.
No. How could I respond? No. If there's a restraining order against me, how could I have responded?
All right, everybody stop for a moment and look at the court file. It appears correct from what I see in the computer that Ms. Hoffman was never actually served. So that's why I asked the question of when did she actually find out about this? She said she found out a couple of days ago.
No, I made it home 2 days ago.
So when did you first find out about this?
I think on the 11th.
And you found out about it through social media?
Yeah.
So if you were granted a continuance, what would you be able to do? What information would you be able to give me that you can't just give me over the phone?
The evidence I have that everything that she has claimed is the opposite of the truth. She has been harassing me. I've just been trying to get my once-a-week phone call with my children, and out of 20 weeks, I've gotten 10 phone calls. I have evidence of all of this.
What about the GoFundMe campaign?
What? Yeah?
Tell me about that.
I created that when my children were somehow legally kidnapped to try to get help with legal fees.
What has come of that?
Not very much.
So is there some other legal case between the two of you?
Yes, she's been, I lost my job and I can't even get a job because my background check comes back with a restraining order saying I'm a child trafficker. She had my child both my children taken away from me with lies on a restraining order. She's trying to get full custody of my children based on nothing. I've never been proven unfit and my children have been stuck with. Is this is this a trial? Are we skipping due process? I was never served. Because I have evidence against everything she has said. If I just had the fairness of having time to get it there.
Ms. Cosmer, you've had notice of this hearing since about the 11th of December, and you're actually participating. The issue here is whether or not you sent all of these texts and made all these phone calls. And Ms. Hall has the texts here. Are you saying you didn't send her those texts?
I'm saying that whatever she's talking about, a string of 22 texts, the only time I ever sent a string of texts was I had to use one of my phone calls to send my children pictures because she wouldn't let me send them any pictures. So that's the only time I sent multiple texts like that. And as far as the Saturday and Sunday where she's referring to me wanting her to download this thing, if you'll give me just a minute, of course I can't show you the evidence I have here, but so, what are you basing your decision on? You just said it's a he said, or she said, he said. What are you basing your decision on?
Basing it on what she said, I believe her.
But it's not illegal what I've done. It's perfectly legal what I've done.
And I'm telling you, you can't do it.
So you override the Supreme Court?
I can tell you what you can do and not do with regard to what I find is harassment.
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. Well, there's so much they hold, and just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far. to be right where you are. How old is your soul? Well, I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. And when you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We got in life to learn. God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got here. We got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we did intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I got and what I'm not, and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up, still looking up. Well, I won't give up. No, I won't. God knows I'm tough. He knows we got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. And we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
You can't make me stop. You can't make me stop. You can't make me stop.
you.